Achieved.
Good morning or afternoon or evening, I guess. I have no idea when you're going to watch this video. Could be good tomorrow. We're going hair flow today. I don't know if you're noticing. We're going hair flow today. Let it ride, baby. Today, what we're going to do here from Studio Day Heffrey is some Dallas Cowboys draft talk, because I asked the peeps, I said, hey, what do you guys want to talk about? And the vast majority of the questions that I got were about the Cowboys and the NFL draft. And so we're off. The first thing that I want to talk about is I got a question from somebody that I'm not finding right now, but don't worry about that, about Javon Kinlaw, the South Carolina defensive tackle. If you were watching the Senior Bowl or looked at the Senior Bowl highlights, it'll be on TV today. I'll be watching the practices on TV, going to record those bad boys. But one of the guys that jumped out at the Senior Bowl, somebody asked me about the potential first-round prospects in the Senior Bowl. And to me, Javon Kinlaw, South Carolina D tackle, he is number one. He's the best player at the Senior Bowl, and he showed it with some of the one-on-one stuff. So if you see the scroll at the top there where it says the dream pick at 17, the dream pick is Javon Kinlaw. I've heard a whisper of a whisper of a whisper that you might want to check his knees. But the tape and the things that I actually know from watching him and evaluating him is Javon Kinlaw is a souped-up version of what they were thinking they were going to get with Malik Collins, and then again with Tristan Hill when they were looking for a dominant under tackle, not your nose tackle, not your fat boy, but your other defensive tackle who could pass rush. Kinlaw's the full package, man. If that dude could make it to 17, that's the dream pick for the Cowboys. And they got other needs. It wouldn't be a safety. It wouldn't be a corner. Whatever else you might want in this draft class, a pass rusher. Well, he is a pass rusher from the interior. But to me, the interior is so important for the Cowboys to get souped up a little bit. And if they could have that guy fall into their lap at 17, that is the absolute dream pick for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, that was from my buddy Ashish Airy on Twitter. Next person who asked a question, this is actually from yesterday's video. You can leave whatever you want to talk about the next day in the comments, and I'll try to get to you. Jeremy from yesterday's video said, AJ Epenesa is now Bay since we're staying in a 4-3. And that's another dude that we're talking about a lot. I know I am on the radio and on here a lot about the corners and a lot about the safeties. But do we know for sure that Iowa defensive end A.J. Epenesa is going to go in the top 16? I think he will, but if not, he's a guy that I kind of compare to – I was wrong on Joey Bosa, but I thought Joey Bosa would be a 7 to 10 sack guy, not really threatening to be double digits every year and just kind of be a rock-solid player. And now I think we see that both Bosas have a lot more than that. But Epenesa I view that way, where he's kind of a 280, 285-pound defensive end that's athletic enough, but he's not a speed demon turning the corner. He's just so technical and heavy-handed and strong and physical that he'd be a really good run player. And I think for a decade in the league, he's going to get you 7 or 8 sacks, maybe up to 9 or 10 sacks. So A.J. Epenesa, I agree with you, Jeremy. If he's available at 17, I got no problem with that pick. Got no problem with calling him Bay. Next, Josh Stanfield on the tweeter. He said, I'd like to talk about how below-average units don't deserve nicknames. I suppose that's about the Cowboys and the Hot Boys, and DeMarcus Lawrence is currently mad at the 49ers and saying he's going to get his lawyers involved. Here's my problem with the Hot Boys fight. 1, neither of you guys are the Hot Boys, and you're disrespecting my middle school into high school years when you call yourself the Hot Boys. I would really like it if Lil Wayne and BG and Juvenile and Young Turk were to tell them a little something like, hey, why are you guys fighting over our name? You know? It's silly. 1997, that's when the Hot Boys were formed. A little bling-bling action, okay? Neither of you are the Hot Boys. So if you want to steal a nickname, then I think somebody can steal it from you, especially when they're better than you. So I got no problem with the 49ers jacking the Hot Boys nickname because the Cowboys jacked it. You guys don't own it either. Everybody knows that. Maybe everybody doesn't know that. Maybe I taught you a history lesson today. And that is the extent of my hip-hop knowledge, the Hot Boys. Okay, let's see what else we got here from Stephen Thompson. He says, Christian Fulton / Trayvon Diggs versus Grant Delpit. My order for those three guys currently sits as such. LSU cornerback Christian Fulton will be my top-rated guy out of those three. Grant Delpit will be next, and Trayvon Diggs will be third. That can change because it's a long pre-draft process. But I think Fulton has the best tape and the most consistent tape of those three. I think he is a sticky corner in coverage. He's tough to get away from. I think Trayvon Diggs as a corner, Alabama corner, is more – he's a good player, but I think he's even more about projecting what he could be with that build and that athleticism and his upside. And Grant Delpit is kind of a 2-year where you got to watch 2 years of him to kind of get a feel from him or a feel for him and see how much do you think injuries affected him and his lack of tackling this year for a big part of the season. I like all three of them. If they picked Fulton at 17, I'm on board. If they pick Delpit at 17, I'm on board. If they pick Trayvon Diggs at 17, I want to know who else is on the board at that point because I don't know that I'll be on board with that pick. Now, he also asks this, how about a 2-round situation here? Would you rather have Grant Delpit, LSU free safety, and Matabike, the Texas A&M 3-technique defensive tackle, or Javon Kinlaw and Cal safety Ashton Davis? When I get questions like this, a lot of times the way that I'll decide it is, do I clearly know which one I prefer in the first round? Because if I clearly know which one I prefer there, the next guy doesn't really matter. I'll figure it out when I get there. Because my goal, picking in the top 17, is to find the premier player. If I can find the premier player, that's the guy that I want. So I would go with Kinlaw and Ashton Davis, even though I'm not as high on Ashton Davis as a lot of people. And I do like Delpit, and I do like Matabike. But I like Javon Kinlaw enough that we'll figure out the second-round pick when we get there. From Walker, he says, talk about that soundbite from Kyle Shanahan. If you guys haven't seen this on social, there's a video of Kyle Shanahan. I believe it's against Green Bay. I believe it's from the Green Bay game, where he's telling the ref, he's standing next to the ref before the 49ers run an offensive play, and he's like, hey, 85's running a 5-yard out. He's talking about George Kittle. He's like, watch, he's going to go in, he's going to go out. The DB's not going to let him come out. And then they snap the ball, and sure enough, George Kittle starts off inside, tries to break out, and he gets held, and the ref throws a flag. So Walker says, talk about Kyle Shanahan knowing his guy'd get interfered with because he had the right call, so he got the ref's ear and made him focus on that route and threw the flag. Yeah, I don't think Garrett would do that. I don't think so. But I do think that that's one of the advantages on Sundays of a great head coach. Kyle Shanahan does that, and he's not the only coach. You see other coaches who are planting things in the ref's ear at the right times. Mike McCarthy, when he talked about the Dez catch, non-catch against him, he got a ref to tell him beforehand the exact writing of the rule to know if he should challenge or not. If that ref just shuts his mouth, McCarthy doesn't challenge, and maybe the Cowboys end up winning that game. But I think that the best NFL head coaches know how to work the refs, know the right time to say certain things, and know that the answer is probably not just saying, bleep you, ref, bleep, oh, bleep and bleep, bleep, you bleep and bleeper. You say, hey, here's what's coming, and I'd appreciate it if you watched it because I know what's going to happen. Big Cart is 17. And yesterday's video says this, Kayvon Chason, 6'4", 250-pound outside linebacker for LSU, especially if we switch to a 3-4 defense. Well, the Cowboys are not switching to a base 3-4 defense, but I still wouldn't mind Kayvon Chason on the team. He's one of those guys that, man, his good reps, his best reps look like, holy cow, he could be an elite NFL pass rusher. They're just not consistent enough. But I absolutely think he's going to end up going in the first round because the traits, and when he's at his best, heck, you can watch the national title game. It was mostly him that had Trevor Lawrence seeing ghosts in the pocket. So, yeah, Kayvon Chason, I think he's absolutely worth noting. Maybe he tears up the combine and we start talking about him as a realistic option to maybe play right defensive end on this defense. But he's absolutely got the tools to be a really good pass rusher in the NFL. Aaron Holt from yesterday's video says, "What's up, Jeff? I was a big fan of the G-Bag Nation. Ooh-wee! But my job prevents me from listening now. I was wondering about Neville Gallimore from OU. Do you think he's a 1 or 3 defensive tackle?" I think Neville Gallimore is 100% a 3 technique. Remember, I'm a Boomer Sooner guy. Dun, 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 dun. And I like him, and maybe he's just going to be one of the guys that I'm wrong on. I hear and see a lot of people mocking him as a first-round player, and on tape, I think, turn on the Baylor game. The first 2 plays of the game, you'll see him. The slipperiness, the initial quickness, the get-off, the ability to penetrate and get into the backfield, and he gets super close to having a sack and a tackle for loss. He doesn't make either play, but then as you keep watching his tape, I'm seeing a guy that doesn't have the functional strength, I don't think, to hold up. He gets pushed around in the run game, but it's those elite traits. He doesn't have the production either, but he has those traits that I think scouts can look at and say, that guy's got what it takes to be a great pass rusher. Can we turn him into that? So there you have it. That's a video talking draft today. Appreciate you guys stopping by. In the comments, leave whatever you'd like to talk about tomorrow, and we'll get around to it. Make sure you're watching or looking out for Trust the Tape. Brian Broaddus and I will be recording that here in just a little bit up at the station. Shout out to 1053thefan.com. Be there every day. It's your best outlet for sports. I love you guys, and I'll catch you tomorrow.